It is Thursday, the 24th of May. This is Travel Jack's Journeys, episode 11. Roll the titles. My name is Jack Neal, and in this programme I take you on a journey. Welcome to Travel Jack's Journeys. Morning everyone, welcome to Telford Town Centre, the starting point of this journey. It's episode 11 of Travel Jack's Journeys. For this journey we are going to Shrewsbury. Now we are here at Telford Town Centre. We're going to jump on the bus today. We're catching the X4 which goes to Shrewsbury from Telford Town Centre. We're using a Midlands day saver. Coming back we're probably going to be catching the X5 or the X4. Whilst in Shrewsbury we're going to do the Shrewsbury boat trip as well. Change of plan, we're going to jump on this bus which is the number 96, which is 2997, my favourite bus. It's now 10:41. We're now here at Shrewsbury, well, Shrewsbury bus station to be precise. I was going to get the X4, but I've decided to get the 96 because it was 29.97, which is my favourite Versa at Telford Depot. Here comes the Versa going to Ulster on the 70. We're now going to have a look at Shrewsbury and how we go on the Shrewsbury boat trip as well. Time for a quick bash on an escalator. That's how desperate we are on this programme. This links the bus station to the shopping centre. This is what it looks like inside the shopping centre. I'm not sure what this one's called. We'll go for another escalator bash. So we are just walking down Shrewsbury High Street. We're doing a bit of building work here, unfortunately. I like Shrewsbury. We're just making our way down to the boat trip. After the boat trip, I'll tell you some facts about Shrewsbury. I'll give you one of the facts about Shrewsbury now. That I was born in Shrewsbury back in 1996. Yeah, I was born in the hospital at Shrewsbury, but we won't go and see that because I don't particularly want to show you the hospital. A bit of information about the Shrewsbury boat tour. It runs every hour between 11 o'clock and 4 o'clock. And it's called the Sabrina boat trip. So I'll see you on the Sabrina boat trip. Here comes the X5. Oh, sorry, X4. It's 29.65. It's now 11:36. We're here at the Welsh Bridge waiting for the Sabrina boat to turn up, which will take us on a boat trip on the River Severn around Shrewsbury, which the River Severn goes through Ironbridge and down to Bristol. Here comes the boat that we're going to go on. Over there is a Versa, which is black and white, which I nicknamed that the Badger. 29.72. You can get a better view of 29.72 now. We're now setting sail on the River Severn on board Sabrina.
Oh, yes, I did. No, the young guy.
He's coming back to take the rubbish.
Everybody else is round. They were trying to grab it. Now the reason I know.
Coming for you.
And there's a skip down there as well.
And in the distance there, sticking up amongst the trees, is a small tower, sort of reddy brownish in colour with a pointy green roof. That's Laura's Tower, part of the Shrewsbury Castle grounds, completed in 1790, designed by Thomas Telford as a folly for the daughter of Sir William Pulteney, and they used it as a summer house. It's made of red sandstone, has got a conical copper roof. A couple of buildings to the right of the English Bridge. The largest one is the Wakeman School, now the Sixth Form College, and the United Reformed Church, completed in 1863. Behind the Wakeman School used to be the Shrewsbury Town Gay Meadow football ground. Used to flood a lot, so they moved the ground to the outskirts of Shrewsbury. So what did they do with the site instead? they built houses and flats, as you do on a floodplain next to a river. So the river levels here in Shrewsbury are controlled by a weir downstream about half a mile away, so that takes care of the lower end of the river levels, but the upper levels can be a little bit unpredictable. So if you now look to the right starboard side, you can see a red brick wall. All the white lines, white tide marks on the wall there, indicate where the river levels have been over the past 5 to 6 years. Thankfully though, it's not like that every year, and this year really hasn't been too bad compared with previous years.
One thing I should say about Shrewsbury Castle, so I like to do train spotting.
And coming up now on the right starboard side is the remains of an old friary, St Julian's Friary. Today it's a private house. Franciscan friars all settled to 5, and they all wore grey habits. They were known as the Grey Friars, hence the name of this bridge, Greyfriars Bridge. And it was completed in 1879. I don't think it's had a coat of paint since. And the River Severn weighs 65 miles from its source, which is in the Plinlimmon range of the Welsh Mountains. The source of the river is 2,000 feet above sea level, and it works its way down through Wales, Shropshire, Worcestershire, Gloucestershire, and then ends its life in the Bristol Channel, where it becomes 4 miles wide. The River Severn is the UK's longest at 220 miles, and that's 10 miles longer than the River Thames, which is the longest in England. And there's over 600 listed buildings here in Shrewsbury. If you now look to the right starboard side, you can see the telephone exchange, built in the 50s, and that's certainly not one. And to the left of the telephone exchange is the Roman Catholic Cathedral, completed in 1852, designed by a famous architect, Augustus Welby Pugin, who was the same architect for the Houses of Parliament. He died at a relatively young age of 46 in an asylum. Perhaps there's something to do with his 3 wives and 8 children. And you're probably thinking by now, why isn't Shrewsbury a city if we have a cathedral? Doesn't seem to work like that these days. Still one big competition between towns. Well, Shrewsbury has tried twice, failed on both occasions. And in front of the cathedral are the remains of the Shrewsbury town walls, although 70% still remains today. And they were built in the 12th century by a father and his 2 sons, who got paid £3 for every 100 foot of wall that they completed. The walls are primarily built to keep out the Welsh. However, today though, we welcome the Welsh in, along with everybody else. And coming up now on the left port side is a large warehouse looking building. 200 years ago, started life as a brewery, Trouncers Brewery. And over its life it's been a few things. It's been a mill, a foundry, laundry, harness and flats. If you look at the building as a whole and sort of split it in half, well, the left-hand side was actually constructed when they built the flats, and the right-hand side being the original brewery building. And the brewery actually ceased operating in the mid-1950s. And when the brewery was in operation, there was a thing attached to it called a tiddly bar. Now, there was a number of these tiddly bars attached to breweries throughout the UK at that time. It's where children over the age of 6 could get 2/3 of a pint of weakened beer per day because it was deemed safe to drink the local water. Bit ironic here in Shrewsbury, since the water used to make the beer in the first place came out of the River Severn, giving it a distinct flavour. River wildlife, there are a few species on the river: swans, ducks, goosanders, cormorants, kingfishers, Canada geese, and a whole host of fish: salmon, trout, tension, roach, and lots of eels. It is good to have eels in the river because eels are nature's cleaners. And on the right starboard side again is the Roman Catholic Cathedral. And to the right of the cathedral are two church spires sticking up above the building line. The one with no markings, or the left one, that's St Altman's, and that's 1100 years old. And the other, St Mary's, which is the third tallest church spire in England at 220 foot tall. Both churches have lovely stained glass windows, but more so in St Mary's, where in the east wing is the Tree of Jesse window. And this boat's called Sabrina. Well, Sabrina was the old Roman name for the River Severn. And in the 12th century, the Welsh called it Hafren. That's when the river was the boundary between England and Wales. Shrewsbury's names over the years: Penguin was Welsh, Scrobber's Byrig was Saxon, meaning fort in the scrubland region, and Shrewsbury, that's used extensively today, that was devised by the Normans. Other names over the years: Slobbersbury and Shrewsbury. So do we call it Shrewsbury or do we call it Shrewsbury? As I just mentioned, it was the Normans that put the O in the word to make it Shrewsbury, and then 200 years ago an O was removed and an E was added, making it Shrewsbury. But I guess if you live round here, depends on which side of the river you were born. Me personally, I'd like to see them rename it Slobbersbury. And you probably noticed these tree trunks here on the left hand side. Well, up to a couple of months ago they were weeping willows, just like this one up here on the left. But they have to do that to them now and again. It's a procedure called pollarding. It removes all the branches because they could go brittle and fall on people. But they assure me they're going to regrow again. It looks as if they are doing that now. And on the right starboard side are some red looking buildings. That's the Shrewsbury Girls High School. I don't know if you know of a Professor Mary Beard, does the Pompeii thing on the BBC. She actually went to school here. But if you wish to send your daughter there these days, it'll cost you around £15,000 per year. But that's certainly not as much as the next school that I'll describe a bit later. Just in the middle of this bridge here is a funny looking badge. It's in fact the Shrewsbury Town crest. It's got the three loggerheads on it, which are sort of leopard type animals, and an inscription below that says Floreat Salopia, which means may Shrewsbury flourish. And it certainly has done over the past few years, because each year they seem to keep winning the Britain in Bloom Gold Award. This bridge here, Kingsland Bridge, the tallest bridge over the river here in Shrewsbury. The bridge was completed in 1881. Today it's a toll bridge. It will cost you 20p to drive your car across, although these days it's free to walk across. That used to cost a penny, so it's sort of been given the nickname of the Penny Bridge. Coming up now on the left port side is the Shrewsbury School Boathouse. Rowing is very popular amongst the children. You often see them out in the river later on in the afternoons, and always generally getting in my way. But if you were to see behind the wide doors of the boathouse, you'll see there'll be dozens and dozens of different sized boats, different lengths, so they do get the opportunity to row in whatever's available at the time. At the end of the boathouse ramp on the left hand side is a set of steps, set of very worn steps. That's where you used to get onto a ferry. It used to run left to right across the river here before the bridges were built. That ferry used to run on a piece of chain that was attached to the ferry post, which is still there today on the right hand bank. that thick square wooden post with a large metal hook on it. Reason for the chain was to stop the ferry from being swept away by the natural river streamage on its way across. And on the left up the hill now is a very large red building with a green tower. That's Shrewsbury School. Used to be predominantly for boys, but both boys and girls can attend these days, as long as they bring with them around £35,000 full board fees per year. It really doesn't sound a lot if you say it quickly. The famous people to go to that school over the years: Willie Rushton, Michael Heseltine, Michael Palin, John Peel, Nick Owen and Richard Ingrams. Charles Darwin, however, he did go to Shrewsbury School, but not when it was based there, when it was based where the library is today, across the road from the castle. And you can see his statue in front of the library with him sat in his armchair looking at the castle. Charles Darwin was born here in Shrewsbury in 1809 and is now buried in Westminster Abbey. And if you now move your attention over to the right starboard side, we can see the Quarry Park, 29 acres each year, and it is the longest running flower show in the world. And last year actually celebrated its 130th appearance here in the Quarry Park. And when they started the flower shows all those years ago, they only exhibited carnations and gooseberries. I think it was the mayor at the time that liked those two. And also on the right there is an original Victorian bandstand. And behind the bandstand is a hedged area. That's the area called a dingle. It's a sunken garden, started life as a quarry, and then it was redesigned by TV's first gardener, Percy Thrower. And within that area is a statue of Sabrina, nymph of the River Severn. And Charles Darwin, in his earlier years, did evolution experiments in there with pond newts and toads. And if you do get a chance to visit the dingle, I'd highly recommend it because it really is lovely in there. And also in the Quarry Park area you can see all these avenues, and they're all lined with trees. They're lime trees. They were all planted by Percy Thrower and his team in 1951. Just coming up now on the right starboard side is a cheeky statue. No, it's not Percy Thrower, it's Hercules. Now Hercules has moved around the county a bit. He started life at Condover Hall, about 6 miles south of Shrewsbury. And then he was moved and put by St Chad's Church, which is on the right up the hill there. But there he was deemed to be putting the parishioners off their prayers, so that's why he was moved down here out of the way. And a couple of things have happened to him over the years. At one point somebody actually painted him in the Shrewsbury Town football colours, and someone else actually stole the most important bit off the front, and now there's a fig leaf in its place. And on the right up the hill now is a black and white half timber framed house where the ice cream van is. That's Quarry Lodge. That was home for Percy Thrower and his family when he was the park superintendent here. And to the right of Quarry Lodge is St Chad's Church, completed in 1792. Now this is the second St Chad's Church because the first one actually collapsed. And there are bits of it still around Milk Street here in Shrewsbury today. So what happened was, they were ringing the bells one day, they had the service, they all left, and they were locking up the building, slammed the front door, and the whole building collapsed. And they decided it wasn't repairable, so this is why they built this one as we see here today. And this one here is actually the largest round church out of 4 in England. And Charles Darwin was actually baptised here in his year of birth, 1809. And around the back of this St Chad's is a graveyard, and there's an actual headstone with the words Ebenezer Scrooge stamped on it, which was left there after they finished the filming of A Christmas Carol here in Shrewsbury in 1984. Well, we're just passing under Port Hill Bridge, commonly known as the Bouncy Bridge. and it was completed in 1922. Boathouse pub here on the left always seems to be the place to be when the sun's shining, but don't get many people around today. But you will notice, leaning up against the fence here on the left, a couple of old coracles. I wouldn't like to get in the left-hand one because you can see the fence through the bottom. But I don't know if you've ever tried getting in the coracle on the water. You only get one paddle with the coracle, so it does need a bit of a technique to get it to move forward. And if you can't do that, then you just go round and round in circles. Well, we're nearly back from where we started, the Welsh Bridge, completed in 1795. And the word Welsh has got 5 letters. Welsh Bridge, 5 arches. And the word English, 7 letters. English Bridge, 7 arches. So if you ever get lost here in Shrewsbury, just count the arches and you'll know where you are. Just beyond the Welsh Bridge now, to the left-hand side, is the Theatre 7, which was completed in 2009. And when they were digging the foundations, they came across the remains of the previous bridge, St George's, which was completed in the latter part of the 12th century. A much larger, wider bridge, because in those days the River Severn was a lot wider than it is today. And in the middle of the bridge was a large tower so they could control entry and exit. St George's Bridge also had houses on it, but unfortunately in the 1700s the bridge was partially destroyed by the highest ever recorded floods here in Shrewsbury, hence the birth of the Welsh Bridge as we see it today. And they also found the remains of an inland port. Shrewsbury was a busy inland port come the 14th and 15th centuries. In fact, it was the 3rd most important township in England, behind London and York, for the transportation of goods along the river. Wool was brought from Wales via the river, and it stopped up here in Shrewsbury to be treated and dyed in the drapers' buildings in the town to wherever. And just beyond the Welsh Bridge now, to the right-hand side, is a thing called the Quantum Leap. I can only really describe it as looking like a large backbone affair, and it's even been known to be called the Slinky Spring. It was put there to celebrate Charles Darwin's bicentenary of his birth, and it's a self-guided tour of the timeline of evolution. And a bit further on the right-hand side, on the skyline behind the Premier Inn, is the top portion of the Shrewsbury Castle. And to the right of the castle on the skyline is a church-shaped building. That's the Shrewsbury Library. And just to the right of that, we can see that small tower again. You remember the one with the pointy green roof? Laura's Tower. Just proving the point that we've just come round on a big river loop. Well, just before I leave you, a stonemason, when he was constructing the Welsh Bridge here, left a message on the right-hand corner. 3 words. It was a moral message: commit no nuisance. He was probably talking about Shrewsbury Saturday night revellers on their way home, but who knows. Anyway, I come to the end of my...
Right, it's 12:50. We've just jumped off the Sabrina boat trip. We're now going to have a look around Shrewsbury, and I'll give you a bit of history about Shrewsbury as you've just heard some of the boat. You might have heard it. They did mention about the Shrewsbury Flower Show, which attracts a load of people to see some flowers, but also it attracts bus spotters. That is coming up later on in the series, where we'll be coming down here to see the bendy buses as they'll be operating the Shrewsbury Flower Show buses, park and ride as well. So we're now in Shrewsbury. We're going to go and have a look around. One thing you see in Shrewsbury lots, Versas. You see loads of Versas around Shrewsbury. I don't mind Versas. I prefer the ones with the Cummins engine, like 2997. So that's a nice one. That's all you see around here: Versas, Solos, Arriva Telford sometimes brings street lights here. Enviros 200, but mainly around here it's Versus. If you like your Versus, come to Shrewsbury to see the Versus. Here's another Versa. 29.75. If you are a bus enthusiast, you could call Shrewsbury Versaville. That's all you see around is Versas and Solos. So if you are a bus spotter, come to Versaville to spot Optare. So Versas. There goes 29.73 on the Oxon parking line. So we are in the middle of Shrewsbury, or some bus enthusiasts will call it, forecourt, because there's loads of Versas, Versaville. Shrewsbury is the birthplace of Charles Darwin. He spent 27 years of his life here in Shrewsbury. As you saw as he went to school in Shrewsbury as well. Also Nick Owen from BBC, who presents BBC Midlands Today, he went to school here in Shrewsbury. As you can see, it's raining. Here's a map of the town. If you want to pause the video now, you can do. That's a map of Shrewsbury. You can also pick this little guide up from tourist information centres from around Shrewsbury as well. Also, I got this in from Telford. Arriva Midlands operate buses in Telford. No, sorry, here in Shrewsbury. Number 96, X4 and the X5 go to Telford Town Centre. X4 and X5 every hour, and the 96 is every 2 hours. Please do check on Arriva's website, or you can check on www.telfordpublictransport.co.uk. Their details are in the description below. I'll take you up through Shrewsbury High Street. It's quite a nice place, Shrewsbury, as I do like Shrewsbury as well. As I said, I was born here in Shrewsbury in 1996. So if you work that out, you can more or less work out how old I am. So we're just walking up Shrewsbury High Street. I want to ask you something. Can you leave your answer in the comments below? What do you call Shrewsbury? Do you call it Shrewsbury with an O, or Shrewsbury with an E? On this show, I call it Shrewsbury with an E, because I'm from Telford, and that's what we tend to call it in Telford. Shrewsbury's got two shopping centres, the Pride Hill Shopping Centre, and you've also got the Darwin Shopping Centre. We're going into the Pride Hill one. Right, it's 13:58. We're just walking up Shrewsbury High Street. We're going to be catching the X4 to Telford Town Centre, which will be, you've guessed it, a Versa. Again, be one of the Shrewsbury Versas, because Telford don't operate the X4. We operate the 96. Shrewsbury operate the X5 as well, so it will be a Versa. I'll let you know which one it is. Time for a lift bash.
First floor.
And we'll go for an escalator bash next. Time for an escalator bash. You can tell we're getting desperate for stuff on this programme. We're now back in Telford. I'll end the programme on the next link. Right, it is time to end episode 11 of Travel Jack's Journeys. For this journey we went to Shrewsbury. And we jumped on the bus. Now originally I did say we was going to be catching the X4. But as you saw at the Telford Town Centre, that quickly changed. Because 2997 rolled up on the 96. And of course 2996 is one of my favourite buses at Telford Depot. On the bus today we used the Midlands Day Saver, which is £6.20, and when we got to Shrewsbury we jumped on the Sabrina boat tour, which we had a little tour of Shrewsbury, which is quite nice. Usually tickets on that for an adult are £8, which is not bad, and you get a guided tour. And then had a look around Shrewsbury, and then coming back we jumped on 2965 Optare Versa on the X4, which took us back to Telford Town Centre. As you saw in Shrewsbury, there are plenty of Versas that operate around there. Also, Litte Jack joined me as well on today's journey, which was quite nice. Shrewsbury was absolutely lovely. It did rain a bit, but that didn't really bother me. Only a bit of rain. To be fair, we've had some good weather for the last few Travel Jack's journeys, which has been brilliant. I like it when it's nice weather. That's it from me. Episode 12 is we're going on another Elcock Reisen journey. We're going to the Ffestiniog railway. So basically what the plan is, I believe Elcock's are going to pick us up, and then we're going to head up to Porthmadog, have a bit of time in Porthmadog, and then we're going to jump on the Ffestiniog railway to Ffestiniog, where we'll pick up the coach and head back to Telford that way. Princess is sat on my knee. That's it from me. You can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Details are coming up next. If you have liked the video, you can subscribe by clicking the subscribe button down below. And if you want to see Litte Jack on his journeys, you can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram details are in the description below. That's it for me. I will see you for the Elcock Reisen trip for the Ffestiniog Railway. Bye for now. Before I go, I should point out a year ago on the day this was filmed, because today's date is the 24th of May, I did the Severn Valley Railway. If you want to watch it, it's up there, or if it's not up there in the editing, it'll be on that side. And on that one, I dropped my train tickets by accident. Luckily they got handed in. That was good. You can watch the full journey of the Severn Valley Railway.